Hey, hey, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, horse lovers. So, how are you? Let me do the thing where I track and make sure that you can hear me and see me and all the things in all the right places. Um, especially today of all days, Facebook's been being wonky with me. So, hi, how are you? How's it going? See if it's working. Awesome. That's what we needed to know. Okay, cool. No, stop. Anyways, hey, how are you? All right, let's dive in, shall we? So, the last 2 weeks, we've talked about 2 weeks ago, it was intuitive assessment strategies. How to know what the fuck you need to do. What's going on with your horse. How to identify the problem. Last week, we talked about how pain is a fucking liar. Okay, pain is a liar. So just the spot that seems to be painful, it often is not the root cause of the situation. The painful place isn't the problem. It's stupid, right? So that's what we talked about. And so today is for if for the people who have been there where they're like, something's wrong with my horse. Nobody can tell me what's wrong with them. I don't understand what's going on, and I don't know what to do. Friends, this one is for you, okay? Those last two that we did, those are also very helpful. Go check those out. There is a post in the featured section with all of our past Tuesday tales, which I have put all onto YouTube because Facebook is being fun and taking all of our live videos away. If you go up there, you will find the YouTube channel. And in the YouTube channel, there's a playlist, and the playlist is Tuesday Tales. And you can find all of the Tuesday Tales, even if they are not listed in the featured post. I do my best to keep up, but let's be honest, it's kind of low on the priority list. So that playlist in YouTube is there for you. All right, so today, the fucking order of operations. Like, what do we do first? Where do we go from here, right? So we've done an assessment, and we find what's painful today, and we talked about how we need to know what pain patterns are because once you do your assessment, you find the painful spot. That's often not the root cause, but we can follow that pain through the body and identify that root cause by following the pain patterns, okay? And we also talked about, and just kind of want to give you a short little recap here, that when you are working through and you're identifying a pain pattern, the first pain pattern you find is likely not the answer. It's likely not the whole truth, unless this is a new problem, in which case you probably know exactly what the problem is because you're like, oh shit, my horse is limping today. They have something serious going on. It's an abscess. It's an injury. I watched them be stupid. They got stuck in a fence. They did whatever, right? In those cases, we don't really need to follow the pain pattern, but it can be fun to watch it manifest over time. And this is also the place where I say if your horse has an abscess and the pain goes away and therefore they start walking normally again, y'all, get them a massage. Get them a massage. Okay? Because abscesses hurt really bad, create really big compensation patterns. Why am I struggling with this word today? Compensatory patterns in the body. And when we don't address that, like, it doesn't matter if it lasted for a day or a week or a month, okay? That pattern is still impacting the way a horse moves because it doesn't take that long to actually change the neural pathways in the brain, which communicates how the horse is moving. All right. So this is where neuroplasticity and being able to change your mind, literally change your mind, and not just from one idea to another, but from one way of living to another, from one identity to another, doesn't have to take time. It just takes intention. And the body's intention when something happens like this, where it's like a severe, painful something or other that changes the whole way the body works and moves, the body's intention is to make a quick change, right? So that the horse can continue to survive very efficiently and without concern about being eaten by a predator, as one does. All right, so with that in mind, order of operations, what do we do first, right? So the important thing here is that we want to acknowledge that we're not going to fix everything at once. We need to take it one step at a time. Hence, order of operations, just like you were a kid. And when did we learn this? Like middle school, late elementary school, early middle school, where it was order of operations, right? Where it's parentheses and the exponents and addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all those things that had to be done in a certain order to math correctly, for the math to math. It is similar to that in that, if we want to see results for our horses, we cannot just simply expect to start anywhere all willy-nilly, right? So one of the things that I tell people all the time, like I see people in this group and out in Facebook land, how do I build a top line? Well, it's not with exercise. It's not with exercise. It's not with diet either, okay? It's with massage, with assessment, with understanding where the body is at, and being able to give specific exercises based on where the body is at right now today. So when we're trying to build top line, order of operations, assessment, massage, maybe chiropractic, foot changes, nutrition. But we're not going to know the order of operations on those three things until we've done the first two, assessment and massage. We want to do the massage first because we want to make sure, an assessment, because we want to make sure that the body is moving, functioning at its optimal, at its most efficient already, so that we know that there aren't any compensatory, good Lord, compensation patterns, that they're not moving in compensation patterns, because if we try to build muscle while they're operating in compensation patterns, two things is going to happen. One, we're going to build unbalanced muscle, and two, we're going to be on a highway to injury, and ain't nobody want that shit. We're not trying to create a situation to rehab from. We're trying to build muscle and be able to have a strong horse that is not going to get injured easily. We want vitality and strength, right? So this isn't about fixing everything at once. This is about picking the order in which we do fix things, okay? And again, this is going to depend on where your horse is at, so that assessment is crucial. Now, today, I cannot teach you in these few 15, 14 minutes that we have left, okay, how to tell whether the nervous system is actually ready to receive, work, and make changes. And I can't teach you today, how to prioritize. Like, I can give you this little intro to prioritization, okay, but I can't give you all the things in the next 14 minutes. So those things are absolutely covered, and pain patterns and massage and all of those things are covered in the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program. If that is something you're interested in, shoot me a message. We can totally have that conversation and see if it is a good fit for you. But today, in the next 13 minutes now, we are not going to be able to get into everything, right? That just makes sense. So first and foremost, we need to understand that more is not better, okay? So more massage treatments, more chiropractic treatments, more cryotherapy, more medication, more is not better. I like to do 3 massages in 2 weeks. More than that is, in my experience, too much. And when we put massages back to back, we aren't allowing the horse to integrate what we have done. We're not allowing their nervous system to properly process and respond and make a decision, right? So part of the process of doing 3 massages in about 2 weeks is getting feedback from the nervous system. If the body does not regulate back to where we started, we know we're headed in the right direction. If it does regulate back after one massage and it goes right back to where we were before, then we know that there's something going on here that is going to prevent healing. And we get to do a little bit more diagnostics. Again, can't cover that in the next 12 minutes. So we have to give time and space for the nervous system to be able to integrate the changes that we're making. And we get to remember that every time we touch a horse, every time we interact with a horse, that is a nervous system interaction. Just like every time we are touched or touch something, that is a nervous system interaction. And we can be overstimulated. Who here gets overstimulated? Okay, right? So too much noise, too many touches, too many, even if it's like calming things like, what do we call those? Interventions. Too many interventions can be overstimulating, right? So it can be nice to have water sounds going on. It can be nice to have aromatic smells. Aromatic smells, good Lord. Like the lilac bush. The lilac bush outside right now, beautiful, okay? It can be nice to have sun on my face, grass on my feet, like feeling the grass underneath my feet. It can be nice to smell the horse. It can also be completely overwhelming to have relaxation music playing, 10 different kinds of flowers giving scents, way too many grass pieces touching me, bugs crawling on me, like way too much. It's way too much. It's way too much. It's too much. And we don't want to do that to our horses. We don't want to flood them. We don't want to overwhelm them. We want to work with them. And the best way we can do that is to regulate how much we are doing. So when in doubt, do less. Okay, precision is like it's that quality over quantity thing. We want to do less. We can't be changing 5 things at once. And here's the other thing. This is something that we've done a million bajillion times in my experience in working with our standardbred racehorses, our top athletes that are competing at the highest levels. We're on a time schedule. We have, here's the big difference that a lot of people don't know this. The average thoroughbred is only going to race a handful of times a year. Like, this is a lot of races for a thoroughbred, okay? A standardbred can easily race 40 to 50 times in a year. 50 is a lot, but it's once a week. They can go back every week and race. And that being said, they're often on schedules that are very tight. We might be able to give them a week or two here, a week or two there, but if we have a problem, it's usually the least opportune moment and we don't have a ton of time. And we're like, should we change this equipment? Should we get them an intervention? Do they need chiropractic? Do they need massage? Do they need both? Should we get injections done? Should we change their nutrition? Should we offer this supplement? Should we do that? And you know what happened? Growing up, it was like, we're going to change the equipment. We're going to get them a vitamin jug. We're going to change their nutrition. We're going to change their workout plan. We're going to offer them massage. We're going to get them chiropractic. Maybe we're going to throw some acupuncture at it. And guess what? It worked. What of those 7 things actually worked? We have no idea. But the horse was better. So we did it. But the problem is now, anytime we run into that problem again, we have 7 things that we're going to go do because we know that those 7 things work. But the truth is, one of those 7 things is likely to have been the thing that pushed us quite literally across the finish line. And we don't know what that was. Okay? So it's not efficient for us. It's not cost efficient. It's not, experience efficient because we're just going to run into the same problem again down the line. We haven't really solved anything. We don't know what the fuck happened. We just fucking threw a bunch of intervention, right? And that's not the highest and best option here. We get to choose one priority and we get to use that. And we get to choose that through the assessment process, right? The assessment and the pain patterns and like being able to assess what is our best course of action here. This is also something that we cover in equine alchemy, which is muscle testing, because we can choose on a scale of 1 to 10, which one of these is most important? Which one of these is our highest and best starting point? And that is really priceless to be able to narrow down and work forward from there. So the next thing is, again, coming back to this whole thing where pain is a liar, okay? So we get to assess where this pain is coming from and if it really is the problem that we need to be solving. Because, okay, so perfect example, again, with the racehorses. This is not just something that I've run into with racehorses, but we're on this topic. So I was called in to do some massages. We signed up for a package of 3 with one of these racehorses who was kicking ass and just taking names. And then he got a couple of months off over the winter, which is pretty common. When they're young, they get, they'll race, I don't know, maybe 20 times in a year when they're young, and then they get a few months out to grow and just be horses. And so he came back and he just was not performing. And this is not entirely uncommon. Sometimes they just are like, you know what, I don't like my job, and they don't have a drive for it, and that's fine. But this did not appear to be the case with this horse. He literally just could not do his job. He would not maintain gait. It wasn't that he wasn't putting effort in. It was that he was trying and failing. And so I did the first 2 massages. And the first one I was like, oh my gosh, at the assessment, he is super sore. It's in his glute. This explains so much of the problems that you're having with him in terms of his ability to really have power and move forward and literally get himself across the finish line. And so the second massage that came out, I'm like, well, it's a little bit better and also worse. Like, the pain pattern had kind of changed. It wasn't as much in that glute as it was in his opposite shoulder. Again, this is not uncommon. This is a pain pattern. It makes sense, which it tells me that glute and at least that hind quarter is definitely the origin of what's going on here. However, through that massage, by the time we got to the end of it, he was lame. And this is not a common thing. And I was like, what's going on? So I asked a few questions and was able to determine, oh, this is probably not muscular at all. This is skeletal. This is a skeletal problem. And his muscles are screaming and sore. And giving him a reason to misbehave and not perform at his best because it hurts. But it's not a muscle soreness issue. It's not the origin. That's not the origin of the problem. That's what's screaming right now, but that's not the origin. So we were able to narrow it down to, I think it's below the hock, get some imaging done. And lo and behold, he had a broken splint. It wasn't a complete break. It was just a fracture. So it just took a little bit of time to heal it up. But, no one saw him as off. All the veterinarians that saw him didn't see him off. He wasn't off until we took the pain patterns out, because the body is trying to maintain, one, safety. If they are the weakest link, if they appear to be in pain, they will be eaten. And two, efficiency. And the most efficient thing that the body could do is compensate, okay? So with all of that in mind, the muscles weren't even the problem. And so we get to go through and follow pain patterns and really investigate what's going on. When we're looking at order of operations, again, we can have the muscle testing is such a powerful tool that we can use here and be like, is this the root cause of the problem? Yes or no? Or yes or not yes, rather. And when we do that, it can help us to be like, okay, next. What's next on my list, right? What's the next thing? And, we also get to be like, okay, if I had to choose one thing today, it would be this or that. Like, what am I doing today that is going to move the needle on making this horse feel better? And we get to acknowledge, too, that sometimes that is just understanding. That is just acknowledging that you see the horse where they're at. You might not have all the tools in your toolbox yet to be able to actually solve the problem. And that's okay. Because as soon as you back off and let the horse know that you have seen and acknowledged, oh, I see you, you have a problem, I'm not pushing anymore, that can do so much for your relationship. So much. And I know that if you guys are here, if you're in this group, you give a fuck about relationship with your horse. Your horse is not just someone that is here to propel you across the finish line. Your horse is also a partner. It is a being that you care deeply for. And so creating that connection matters to you. So just know that if you're like, I don't know how to move forward from here, I don't know what my next step is, I don't know what the pain patterns look like. First of all, you can come here into the Hope for the Hopeless Horse Facebook group and you can post pictures and we can create that strategy together. And second, there are programs out there that will take you a little bit of time, but you can learn these things, okay? In the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program is one of them. Not the only one, but one of them. Definitely the only one that I know for sure covers a lot of pain patterns and order of operations and talks about it like this, but I'm sure that others out there exist, so the important thing is you don't have to do everything at once. It's actually better if you slow down and you take it one step at a time, and you absolutely can and should ask for help, right? The more information you have when you reach out for help, the better off you and your horse are going to be. So, and this is the other thing too, like, you can just stop and take a few deep breaths and ask the question, like, how can I help my horse today? And the first thing that comes to your mind is something that you should absolutely take action on. And cut yourself some slack. If you're like, well, the answer is call the vet, and I already did, and they don't have an answer. Okay, ask again, breathe. I think a lot of us really need to tap into our inner knowing, into our true self, into our higher self, into the collective. And that is something, if you need help with it, we do that in Equine Alchemy. Just say the word, and I can help you get into that program as well. But that's what it's all about, is being able to create that connection, right? Because if we create that connection, we can answer these questions for ourselves and we can help our horses faster. So the nervous system is a gatekeeper, all right? If your horse's nervous system is overwhelmed, nothing is going to work. So really, that moment where you choose to step back and take a breath and just acknowledge that you heard what they're saying, that there's a problem, that can be huge. And I want you to think about a time when you were overwhelmed. And maybe you had a physical injury, maybe you had a health problem, but maybe it was just a lot of life stress. How much relief did you find, or would you have found, if someone would have just taken the time to look you in the eyes and been like, I hear you. It is okay. Your feelings are valid and valuable. I understand. How can I help? Right? What would have changed, And it might not be an instant change, because our nervous system is like, can we trust this? Is this okay? And it's the same for your horse, all right? But you have to choose an intervention that your horse is actually ready to receive. And, if they are, there's two sides to this coin. One, you can be like, well, we can't do anything because I can't put a halter on them. Or, like, if I were called out in that situation, I'd be like, well, and I have been, actually. Be like, I don't know how much, I'm like, I'm going to be straightforward with you. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do. If we can't put a halter on them, I might not be able to help a whole lot. But honestly, the progress I can still make progress. And a lot of times it's because I'm not emotionally attached. And that means that I can come in. The horses don't know me. That adds a little bit of curiosity. But I can come in with my cleared energy and be like, okay, I'm here. How can I help? And I can be approachable, more approachable than you can sometimes because my energy is not all wackadoo and crazy. You know, but calling in somebody else to get that help and somebody that can help you assess what's going on sometimes is the answer, right? I am absolutely always going to tell you, empower yourself, learn what you can, take courses, do programs, you know, become the person that your horse needs you to be. But also, don't be afraid to ask for help. There is no shame in that. There is absolutely no shame in that. Because you know what I can tell you too? That the people that I work with in person, they end up creating the person that their horse needs after they've started working with me in person, when we've started doing massages and things like that for their horse, because I'm educating as I go and it's piquing their interest and giving them an idea of what they want to learn next and how they can show up better for their horse. So there you go, you guys. Happy Tuesday Tales. I will see you here next week and chat with you next time.